Adult film star Jessica Drake is the 11th woman to allege Trump sexual misconduct. So Jessica Drake, she's 42. She met Donald Trump at a 2006 golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, California. And she at the time was working for Wicked Pictures, the adult film company. She was there. He invited her to her room. Before that, they were at the golf course. He asked her to go walk around the golf course with him. They talked a little bit and he said, come to my room later. She accepted the invitation, but she didn't feel comfortable going by herself. So she brought with her two of her friends. She says here, she told the story to a number of different media outlets. She says here, quote, when they walked into his penthouse suite, Trump, quote, grabbed each of us tightly in a hug and kissed each one of us without asking permission. There was a bodyguard there too that witnessed it as well as her friends, but she didn't want to call her friends out because she says that should be up to them. So she's therefore not going to name any of these people in the room that was there. She also said that when she left, she was very disgusted by Donald Trump and what had just happened. So she returned to her room and she received a call from a man asking her to come back to Trump's room, and she again said no. Then I guess there was a conversation between her and Trump where he offered her $10,000 and usage of his private plane. She again declined, and then she went home and she told another set of friends there. But again, she didn't want to name those friends. So since then, a lot of people have been sharing their 2 cents on social media. A lot of it is not nice. A lot of it is accusatory. A lot of it is vilifying her. She has come forward saying in so many words that she's not doing this for money. She's not going to sue him. The point is that she wants people to see his true character. So she says, quote, I'm choosing to share my personal exchange in light of the recently released tapes in order to lend my voice, my strength, and my support to the other women who are coming forward. Collectively, his words and his actions are a testament to his character, that of uncontrollable misogyny, entitlement, and being a sexual assault apologist. Of course, she's also talking about how he has said that he has not sexually assaulted any of these women. He said this a number of times on the news, as well as in his press conferences and at his rallies. He said that all the girls are lying, that he's going to sue each and every one of them individually after the whole presidential campaign. And let me read to you some of the tweets, because I think this is what really underscores just how it's not only Trump that shares this sentiment, but his followers. So some of the tweets here, it says, at the Jessica Drake, so your story is Trump offered someone who fucks for money to fuck, makes sense. And then someone else wrote, the irony of it all, porn star claims sexual harassment. Someone else, GTFO, Trump does not need to rape porn stars. You know how much money this guy has? Okay. And then finally, we get some people with some intellect and empathy. Brianna Wu says, no, it's not. Just because the Jessica Drake makes adult films, it doesn't mean her sexual assault doesn't count. Exactly. Just your job profession doesn't dictate whether or not you're authorized or you have the right to give consent, whatever your job profession may be. So what did you guys think when you found out about her story? And then I'm sure you guys have also seen the reaction on social media and how people have vilified her, specifically her more than the other women because of her profession.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that whatever someone's profession is doesn't give anyone the authority or the implied consent to behave in this way towards them. And there was a tweet that I saw, because there's a lot of stuff going on social media, and some of it is supportive, and a lot of it is really gross, and a lot of it is really insensitive towards these people that are coming forward. And it said something to the effect of, why are we so surprised that these women are now coming forward? Or should we be so surprised that these women are coming forward knowing that now someone might believe them and that they are not alone? So that it's not sort of, not everyone is lying. You know, people like to think that, oh, how convenient, they're all coming forward now. Well, I think a lot of it does have to do with, you know, with all the Cosby accusers. You know, one woman steps forward and then another one's like, I thought I was alone. I thought this was my own private struggle. And it provides me such great strength to know that I wasn't the only victim here, and that's the support system. So I'm not surprised.
And they want to lend support to that woman too, because they know that some people are doubting that woman, and they want to help.
And there's power in numbers. And there's power in numbers because, like, Trump is already showing, and his supporters are already showing what happens to women when they come out in instances of sexual assault or any sort of abuse in that regard, where that's a big part of the reason why women don't usually come out. There's so much backlash against them. And in this instance, it's even worse because she's a adult film actress. So then what, are we supposed to immediately think she's open to being raped or sexually assaulted, or she's completely comfortable being offered $10,000 to have sex with someone who's super gross? that has a history of sexual abuse going all the way back to his first wife in a court case. A lot of people often overlook this. This was the first instance of Trump's sexual assault history was back in a 1994, I believe, deposition where his first wife came out and used the word rape. That's something that we consistently keep forgetting about. So there's a track record here. There's a long history, and this is usually the first instinct of a lot of people is to say this is character assassination, this is motivated by the Clinton campaign. And with the WikiLeaks, we see that there was a lot of collusion within the media and the Clinton campaign in even bringing Trump up as the legitimate Republican nominee. But then, if there was any sort of collusion, it doesn't change the fact that these instances portray Donald Trump as a sexual assaulter who has a history of consistently doing this sexual misconduct. And then he himself has even said it. It's like if I, as someone who covers the campaign pretty closely, when I look at Hillary Clinton and I say, well, the WikiLeaks doesn't matter if it was Russia, doesn't matter if it was espionage, I don't care. You still said those things. You still talked about your public position and private position. It's the same with the Donald Trump campaign. I don't care if the Clinton campaign released this information 2 days before the second debate. You still said those things. You still have a track record. This is still deep within your history, and probably more women are out there that are still kind of scared because he's threatening them with lawsuits. And I mean,
and then look at how the public, not all of the public, there has been support, thank God, but look how some of the public has reacted.
Yeah.
Because how is the victim, woman or man, because, not specifically talking about this case, but generally speaking, victims of sexual assault and rape, as you stated, it's very hard for them to come forward because they fear the shame, they fear the guilt, they fear that people aren't going to believe them. And it even boils down to even different, speaking of, we mentioned like professions, like, prostitutes. If a prostitute comes forward, all of a sudden people be like, but you sell sex for a living. Again, it doesn't mean that you are then authorizing consent at every given time. Same with spousal rape. People say you can't be raped by your spouse. Yes, you can. There are people in abusive relationships, and just because you marry someone does not mean that you consent to having sex with them every single time.
As it happened with Donald Trump.
Yes.
So it's kind of like this. Let's say you're a plumber, right? You're a plumber, and this is your job, and then someone kidnaps you, puts a gun to your head and says, fix my sink. Like it's a pretty similar instance in this. You're still being forced against your will to do something, whether it's your job or not. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
And a lot of articles have been coming out recently of people saying in different situations, I came out and spoke up against my sexual abuser, and I got my quote unquote 15 minutes of fame, and you can have it back.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of articles about that.
What fame are you getting? What fame are you getting? You're getting vilified.
And I think why is this a stretch for Trump supporters or for just sort of the media in general, the people who still disbelieve so many of these women that have come forward? Why is it a stretch that he said that he does these things, and then when women say, oh yeah, he did that to me, why is that so? Why is there a disconnect there?
Well, it's because there are instances where, and there are very few ones, but because when the people that were deemed rapists are proved innocent, it's kind of like a death row inmate being proved innocent. And if there's only even one instance of someone that's wrongfully accused of rape, it's devastating for their lives.
And the whole system is called into question.
And then the whole system is exactly called into the question. And I totally see that side of things as well, even though it's a small number and it's actually statistically insignificant, but it's still a really massive injustice that occurs.
I think that's important that you said that.
And it's important that I want to note that.
So important that you said that because false accusation will ruin someone's life.
Yeah.
However, I think it's also important that you mentioned that the number of people that falsely accuse someone of rape and sexual misconduct and sexual assault is so small that it is insignificant. I think that's important to note, but it's also important to hopefully let the justice system play out. But in the meantime, don't go out there and start vilifying these women, especially when you link it to their profession. That's just perpetuating that whole rape culture that people believe does not exist. when clearly it does.
When someone comes forward and says that they were sexually assaulted or were sexually abused, your first reaction should not be skepticism.
Yeah.
The first reaction should be empathy and compassion, and also looking into the details and the facts and everything, but trying to understand them, not the sort of skepticism that leads to a lot of really ugly social media behavior. So I hope that at least our viewers or people that are watching will try and keep that in mind. Don't vilify someone that is coming forward, because this isn't a glamorous thing to do.
Especially because of her profession.
Yeah,
Come on.
you bring up a really good point. I'm sorry, I know you're trying to wrap it up, but
that's okay.
you bring
Final
up a really
thought.
good point about empathy. And look, Personally, I believe in trying to see both sides, regardless, to look at it from a logical standpoint, to understand why Trump would do something like this. And the grab him in the pussy when you're famous and though you can do anything, you can grab him in the pussy, that's a really important quote. Because that, to me, when I look at Donald Trump and I try to empathize, understand his perspective, that really shows me that in his mind, he might not even be thinking that he is actually sexually assaulting these people. He's just so deeply narcissistic
and misogynistic and
entitled that he thinks that, well, these women, I'm doing them a favor. They want to be around me. They want to be around Donald Trump. So, this is something that's important because rape culture, like you said, perpetuates this idea, right? That a lot of people incorrectly assume that rape happens in a dark alleyway, from a random stranger with a gun, holding a gun to your head, or physically inserting himself into a woman. Rape happens to both sexes. And also rape more often than not, or sexual abuse more often than not, happens within close proximity, within amongst individuals that know each other, or in this case, it doesn't need to have any sort of physical threatening presence. It could just easily be a misguided individual who incorrectly assumes that this woman wants to kiss me. Of course, she's a porn star. And we see that within his followers, and we see that within his explanation, his, not apology, but when he went out and said, I've never been associated with this woman and I never would want to be, and whatever. And it's it's gross. And
thank you for that final thought. That was really powerful. Thank you. That was a great summation of our entire conversation. So please keep the conversation going, and we will see you next time on Pop Sugar.